Hey, I'm back, baby.
This an all-out blitz, real hard hits, them other podcast trash, we gon' make them all quit. We cover all the topics with intelligence and logic. I know you wanna score, but ID gon' stop it. We from Texas, so that mean that we Texans. Breaking down the X's and O's, our profession. No complaining, just training, you see the progression. They had a Pro Bowl for talk shows, we get selected. We gon' celebrate every win like a birthday. Ray J with the news, first with all the updates. Spin move on the competition, yeah, we juking them. You not really in touch if you not tuning in. This is Crenshaw, Briggs, and VT. We want the touchdown, we not trying to go for 3. And it's best if you get up out the street, cause them bulls out the pen and they bout to stampede.
Houston Texans, what up?
What up?
What up?
What up?
What up?
What up?
Hey!
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Texans Fan Battle Podcast. I'm your host tonight, Matthew Briggs, and as always with me, I got my amazing trio.
Oh, looks like he froze already. Give him just a second. He was having a little issue there.
Hey, I guess I had a technical difficulty. Well, guys, it's Matthew Briggs. If you didn't hear me last time, as always, I'm here with my amazing trio. I started off with my A1 since day one. Started from the bottom. Now we're here, Mr. Crenshaw. So
What's up? What's up, everybody? How y'all doing tonight?
And guys, with me, we got the space legend making people mad on Twitter. We got Mr. BT himself.
What's going on, guys?
And guys, we got a special guest. It's draft season. On about 8 days left. It's amongst us. We got ESPN legend Matt Miller to help us cover the draft. How you doing, sir?
Doing well, guys. Appreciate you having me on. It sounds like people in Houston are a little excited for this draft. It's what I've been able to pick up doing media over the last couple of weeks. People in Houston seem to be a little excited, a little anxious about the draft. So I'm excited to get it underway, like you said, in 8 days and see what happens at number 2 and number 12 overall.
Yes, sir. We cannot wait to jump in that with you because we got a lot of questions to get your advice from it. So before we do that, we got some NFL news. All right, guys, to kick it off, we got a new highest paid quarterback in NFL, Jalen Hurts. Matt, I'll kick off with you. What do you think about that contract? Pretty crazy, huh?
Crazy. I'm happy for Jalen Hurts. Very happy to go from getting benched at Alabama. You transfer to Oklahoma. I was at the Senior Bowl the year he was there, and everyone says, oh, he's going to play running back. And then he goes to the combine, and they asked, you're going to work out at running back? And he said, no, I'm a quarterback. And I think that so much credit goes to him for the work he put in to go from where he was at Alabama as a passer to get with private quarterback coaches, to go to a developer in Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma to help take his game to the next level. And then the work he's continued to put in since being drafted. So it's fun to go back and see, your pre-draft thoughts on a player. I had an 85 out of 100 grade on Jalen Hurts. I had a starter grade on him. And my comp for him was Dak Prescott. And I tweeted this out earlier in the week I might have been a little low on that comparison. I think probably exceeded that expectation. So I've had the opportunity to get to know some of the people around Jalen. I've spent a little bit of time with Jalen himself. What a stand-up individual. I mean, I think if you could, if you have children and you want them to have a hero in sports, Jalen Hurts is a pretty dang good one. The adversity that he's overcome while also just being an A1 human being. So I'm happy for him. I love that the Eagles give out this, over $100 million extension, and the way it's structured, the cap hit is $6 million this year. And I live south of Kansas City, and I'll tell you, when the Mahomes deal came through, I'll never forget a couple years ago. Oh my God, it's $500 million. How are the Chiefs ever going to afford to pay anyone else? The Mahomes deal looks like a bargain right now. So the beauty of this deal is in 6 years when the deal's up, it's going to look like a bargain. And if Jalen Hurts plays well, he'll probably get another new deal before then. If not, he'll be 30 years old hitting free agency. So super happy for Jalen and his team. And man, I think the Eagles have something special going there. I know it's not a hot take. They were just in the Super Bowl, but I'm very excited to see the way they're building this team.
Right. BT, what about you?
I think he deserves every penny. I love the way he played this year. I think it's amazing that we were, well, I'll include myself in that conversation. I won't talk for everyone, but many people, including myself, were saying that he may lose his starting job, and now he's the highest paid quarterback in the league. I think that's amazing. I think that that also proves, just to talk about Lamar Jackson here, is that you can do a lot of stuff with an agent. And I'm not saying that this is something that Jalen Hurts only got because of his agent, but I'm pretty sure that Lamar Jackson could have gotten something somewhat close if he actually had one. So he got so Jalen Hurts got $180 million guaranteed. We know that Lamar Jackson got something somewhat close to us. And I got to ask you, Matt, there are a lot of Texans fans that are actually thinking that we could get Lamar Jackson after the draft if we don't pick up a quarterback. And I just have to ask you that question, since we're talking about quarterbacks and getting paid. Do you think that there's even a remote chance that we would pay Lamar Jackson that contract and pick him up after the draft if we skip out on a quarterback?
I haven't heard that one yet, so that's interesting. The wheels are spinning for me. I mean, theoretically, the Texans have 2 first-round picks in 2024, right? You still got one more coming from Cleveland. So I think it's logically, you could say, yeah, it would make sense. On the would they pay it? I don't know. They gave Deshaun Watson a boatload of money before everything went south there. So I do think that Cal McNair has showed in the past that he's willing to pay, for good players. So I think that is, maybe the one position where you would be like, okay, let's do it. I think the struggle I would have, VT, is going into the draft, and your fallback is to offer Lamar Jackson the contract that the Baltimore Ravens can match. That's you backed yourself into a weird corner. It's like the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. You got no other option right now. That's why the deal has to get done, because the Jets, that you've run out of other options at this point, really. So it would be a bold strategy. I think it would be awesome from the chaos factor of the NFL. Just every day there's new news that dominates the cycle. I think that part of it would be awesome. I think Lamar would be a great fit in Houston with D'Amico Ryans, and Bobby Slowick would have a ton of fun with that type of offense. But I think from a draft evaluator standpoint, it's hard for me to imagine you're going to roll into the draft and say, all right, if Bryce Young goes 1, we're going to punt on the quarterback position, and we're going to trade for Lamar Jackson, or sign and trade Lamar Jackson, when the Ravens have that right of first refusal.
Well,
I agree.
Thanks for doing my job there for me, VT. Crenshaw, I think to you, what do you think about Jalen Hurts before we move on?
I mean, super excited, man. We call him Eastside Hurts down here in Houston. I've been watching the kids since high school. Shout out to his dad, who was his coach. Shout out to Nicole, the agent that got the deal done. He really deserved it. And like Mr. Miller said, the adversity from Alabama to Oklahoma, he showed that, I could do it in any system. Like you said, they say he wasn't going to be a quarterback, and he proved them wrong. Boy had a hell of a season last year. I wish they would have won a Super Bowl, but, things happen. Patrick Mahomes is that guy. Super stoked for him. I hope he continue to do well, stay healthy. And I root for him long as I'm playing us.
Right. Yeah, everybody gives the blow up to Josh Allen about his improvement every year, but I think Jalen Hurts is by far better improvement wise than Josh Allen, because like Matt said, got benched there in Alabama, went to Oklahoma. Nobody thought he was going to be a starter, and nobody saw him being the highest paid quarterback in the league right now. So the improvement and the blow up is just fantastic to watch. Hope to see more of it. Well, let's stay on the topic,
and especially after the first playoff game he played, the fans was on him real bad. They was on him real bad, and he came back last year, so he put in a lot of work. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah. Well, let's stay quarterback wise, and there's some rumors, Matt, of San Francisco trading off Trey Lance. A lot of Texans fans want this to happen. A lot of us don't. So what's your opinion on this whole thing about Trey Lance?
So I'm going to confess something to you guys. You probably can't see it, but right here above me is a Steve Young photo My son
Oh,
got it for me
Niners fan.
yesterday.
Okay.
I grew up a Niners fan in Missouri, lifelong Niners fan. I was 5 years old watching Jerry Rice beat the Cincinnati Bengals in the Super Bowl. So I grew up a Niners fan, and I feel like my first job writing about football was covering the Niners. So I feel like I know that franchise better than I know any other team in the NFL. And I'll say this:
were you pretty
go
upset
ahead.
when D'Amico came to Houston then?
No, I was happy for him. Like, I think that's the other, like, you're just happy for those guys, for Rand Carthon to go to the Titans as a GM, to see all those guys over the years move on and get opportunities. You're just like, super happy for him. And I think it's become cool that, when I was growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, the Niners were a pipeline team. It was like offensive coordinator got hired every year, defense coordinator got hired away every year. And it really was, there was a tree of Niner guys. And I think we're starting to see that again. So I'm happy for Miko. But I will say on the Trey Lance stuff, guys, he's 22 years old. He's played 9 football games in 3 years. He played 1 game his last year at North Dakota State. It was just like a showcase game during the weird COVID stuff that was going on. It was actually the worst game he ever played in college. Only time he threw an interception in college was that game. Goes to San Francisco. Doesn't play much as a rookie, gets a starting job year 2, as you guys know, boom, gets hurt. Replaced by Jimmy Garoppolo, Niners go on a run. Jimmy gets hurt, gets replaced by Brock Purdy. They go to the NFC Championship game. I would be very skeptical of trading for Trey Lance given what we've seen. And I think at some point you have to wonder, this dude has barely played football in the last 3 years. In the last 4 years, he's thrown 300 competitive passes. So I have some big issues with the idea that not only is he coming off a season-ending injury, he's barely played football, and you're going to ask him to start over with a new franchise. Now, obviously, similar offense because Bobby coming to Houston as the offensive coordinator, so this would be some continuity involved there. But I just don't know how, again, I don't know how you can pass on a quarterback at 2, 12, and 33 and say, oh, no, it's cool, we got Trey Lance. We haven't seen Trey play football. And so I think that's the hard part for me is you're going to look at this quarterback class and say, CJ Stroud's not good enough for us. Anthony Richardson's not. Will Levis is not. Hendon Hooker's not. But Trey Lance is. When he's coming off the injury, hasn't been able to stay healthy. So I think that is the logic side for me is really hard. I would love for Trey to get an opportunity. I think also one thing we have to remember right now is, sure, the 49ers signed Sam Darnold. But Brock Purdy's coming off a UCL surgery that was delayed for months because of the swelling. And he said in an interview this week, he doesn't know if he'll play in 2023. So I don't know how you could be in a hurry to trade Trey Lance if you're the 49ers when you might need him this year. It's not like Sam Darnold has been, the picture of great quarterback play, whether it was with the Jets or Panthers. So if I'm John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, I think I'm holding on to a very inexpensive Trey Lance for as long as I have to make sure that Brock Purdy is healthy and ready to go.
Most definitely. BT, I know you've been ranting and raving all day, so I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, I think honestly, fans that want Trey Lance are basically saying, hey, we need a quarterback, and the rumors lately that we're skipping on one has made everyone say, just get one. And I understand it, because who wants to sit through another year of what we saw last year? But Trey Lance isn't the answer. And Matt, you obviously just killed it right there with your answer. There's no way in hell that I want to trade for Trey Lance for every reason that you said. In addition, I just think that the rumors that we're not going to get a quarterback at the second overall pick are vastly overblown. And secondly, the whole thing is that if Lance was worth trading, why would we even pay what he should be worth? He went for 3 first-round picks. Yeah. If he's not going to go for at least a first, then why would he be worth it? San Fran has to try to recoup something for him. He's on a rookie deal too, right? So he's on a rookie deal, and they spent the draft capital for him. If he's going to go for something where we feel comfortable trading for him, I don't want him. It's almost like I don't want to be a member of a group for that would have me. Yeah, I if they're going to get rid of him, I don't want him. So for me, Trey Lance is definitely not an option. I say, in my opinion, all of those rumors should be put to rest. If Carolina goes Bryce, we go CJ. And then for the whole thing of Trey Lance's, I honestly don't think he's going to leave. You're right. You were just mentioning Brock Purdy's injury. I think they also learned that they need multiple quarterbacks because you
Right.
get hurt. And with all the situation with Brock Purdy, and obviously they can't trust Sam Darnold, that he has got to be there even just as a backup. The only way I see him leaving is if there's a mid-season injury and someone's willing to cough up at least a first-round pick and more for him, because they have a playoff shot and they think that that's their best shot. That I can see something before the trade deadline, kind of an emergency desperation situation. As much as people think that we're in a desperate situation, we're not. So no to Trey Lance. Hell no to Trey Lance. Please let's stop this BS.
Crenshaw, what about you?
Trey, Aubrey, Lance. No, I don't want him here. It doesn't make sense for San Francisco to trade him. I think this maybe is giving him a push. Like, hey, guy, we dealt the first 2 seasons of your injury. You need to be healthy because we traded a lot to get you. We want you to be our future. Texans fans, they be all over the place every day. Trey Lance. Last month it was, back in March it was Jimmy Garoppolo. They don't know who they want. It just every day is something new. But I think we need to just draft a quarterback. I'm hoping it's Bryce, but if it's not Bryce, I'm fine with CJ. And put him in our system. He's going to be cheap. I know Trey is cheap, but the rookie quarterback will be cheaper and longer as well. Let me ask you a question, Mr. Miller. Do you think it was too much they gave up to trade up for him, or you think that was about right?
For Carolina or San Francisco?
No, for San Francisco to trade up for Trey Lance at the time. You think it was too much?
I thought it was too much to get to number 3, but obviously the Jags and Jets didn't want to trade, so it was like you're getting as high as you can. 3 firsts and a 4th is that I think what they ended up giving up. That is a lot. That is so much. So I mean, if you guys are talking about not taking a quarterback at 2 and someone potentially trading up, I think that's the haul you ask for. It's okay. We want the Trey Lance deal. And that's where this conversation starts, depending on who it is. I've heard rumors that Indianapolis might try to come up to 2. I know usually you would say you don't do an interdivision trade, especially for a quarterback, but crazier things have happened in the NFL. So I think it depends on how far you're going to go back is definitely part of it. I think San Francisco went from 12 to 3, so it was a little more expensive. We saw Carolina go from 9 to 1. It was about the same cost and DJ Moore. So when a quarterback's involved, those prices just shoot through the roof.
Okay, if he stays healthy, how do you see his NFL future?
Yeah, I liked him coming out. I had him as my number 4 quarterback that year. I had Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and then I had Zach Wilson and Trey Lance basically tied together. So he was so inexperienced coming out of college. It was really like 1 year in a really like a pro style run heavy system. So he hadn't thrown the ball a ton. So I liked the athletic upside. It's funny to me, Anthony Richardson is like a bigger Trey Lance. He's a dude who hasn't played a ton of football. He's a little more advanced as a runner than he is a passer right now. I think Anthony is a faster processor. Trey, there were a lot of times like the trigger was so slow. He needed to see things faster. I don't think Trey was asked to do a lot of full field stuff. Anthony was. So, but I think similarities in terms of they're both great athletes, big arms, and very inexperienced. So you got to figure out there's these conversations of, do you sit that guy because he needs to learn, or do you throw him out there like a Josh Allen, like a Jalen Hurts, and say, hey, no, you need to go play. That's the only way you're going to get better. Justin Fields was kind of a similar situation too. So I think those arguments get fun depending on where they're going to land. But I think with Trey right now, I wouldn't trade a first round pick for Trey Lance. If that's what San Francisco thinks they're going to get back, that's way too expensive in my opinion.
Okay. Well, let's keep it quarterback. Let's kind of move to the draft and NFL news at the same time. There's a lot of rumors about CJ Stroud. One is that he's hard to coach. He did horrible on the S2 testing, and now we're hearing that he ghosted the Manning brothers at their camp. Matt, what do you think of all this? Is this nonsense, or is there some truth to it?
I'll say I haven't heard the hard to coach one. I haven't heard that. I hadn't heard the Manning brothers thing. I don't know if that's new. I've kind of been in a cave off of social media the last week and a half preparing for the draft. I did hear that his S2 score was not as high as Bryce Young's, but I haven't heard in relation. That stuff's supposed to be private, so I also feel like it's a weird infringement. I don't want to ask. If I hear that information organically, that's fine, but I'm not gonna email the S2 guys and be like, hey, what did Bryce Young score? What did CJ Stroud score? I just feel like that's the guy that goes against what my job is as a journalist. So I haven't heard those things particularly. When information like that comes out, I always wonder who's benefiting from it. I think with NFL news, when something comes out, that's the first question I ask myself is who's benefiting from this information coming out? If 3 negative things are coming out about CJ Stroud and not about any of the other quarterbacks, to me, that sounds like someone wants him to fall down the board to their pick. So like
the Colts, right?
Like the Colts, yeah, or the Raiders or whoever it might be. It's like with the Trey Lance tweet today. Why is it being told to someone? And it being told to someone, and hey, also not only am I telling you this, but I'm telling you can tweet it. And as someone that does dabble in that part of this industry, there are things you are hear, and then there are things you are told so that you can report them. And those are often very, very different things. So being able to get that information and the clearance to put it out there, there's a reason. You want teams to know this player might be available to trade for. So when you start to hear negative things about CJ Stroud, I've never heard that he was hard to coach at all. In fact, he beat out several 4- and 5-star quarterbacks on that roster. One is now the starting quarterback at Texas, Quinn Ewers. He beat those guys out. So I would think if he was hard to coach, we would have seen a Jack Miller or a Quinn Ewers take that job instead of him. So that one's hard for me. Again, everyone I've talked to about CJ loves him. Said that he's soft-spoken, he's humble, he's very intelligent. So I do think that's probably being put out there either by a rival agent to try to hurt CJ Stroud's stock or by a team that is hoping the Texans or someone else will overthink it and allow him to fall into their laps.
Okay. Well, let's keep it the draft. You probably hear all the rumors like we have. Now the Texans don't want to take a quarterback at 2. They don't want CJ Stroud. Maybe trade back to 7 and get Tyree Wilson and draft Will Levis. What do you think will be the right move for the Texans in the first round?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I cannot find anyone in all the people I talk to in the NFL who thinks they're going to take a quarterback at number 2. And I'm not going to pretend like I talk to everybody, but 13, 14 years on the job, you develop relationships. I can't find anyone who thinks the Texans will take a quarterback at 2
Really?
if Bryce Young goes first. I should say that. Now, that doesn't mean they won't. This could be a very well executed smokescreen. It really could be. The only thing that when you sit in your room late at night and you're thinking about all this stuff, when you have the number 2 overall pick and the Carolina Panthers have already signaled they're going to take a quarterback, you don't really have anyone to lie to. You don't have a reason to lie. Again, it goes back to that. What's the benefit of that? There really isn't one, because if you're going to keep the pick, you don't have to signal anything, right? So again, I'll reiterate, the information could just not be being shared. That happens. I like to go back to 2021. I was at the BYU Pro Day, and John Lynch is there, and he's got this smile on his face. He's on his phone, and then the news breaks that they traded up to number 3. The second the Niners traded up to 3, I'm surrounded by 100 scouts, and everyone starts talking about it's for Mac Jones. The Niners love Mac Jones. Kyle Shanahan loves Mac Jones. They're trading up for him. Well, the week before the draft, guess what? The news came out. No, it's actually for Trey Lance, whom they ultimately picked. So you can be hearing one thing all through the process, and it changes as soon as the team gets together and says, no, this is our guy. So there might be people in the Texans organization who don't like CJ Stroud, and they're saying, we're not going to take a quarterback. But Cal McNair might step into that draft plan meeting Thursday morning and say, hey, no, we're taking a quarterback. And guess what? You're taking a quarterback if that happens. So I do think things are up in the air right now. We shouldn't, even 8 days out, we shouldn't speak with any absolutes about what they'll do. But there's not anyone I'm talking to who says, yeah, the Texans will take Stroud or Richardson or Levis or whoever it might be. It definitely sounds like pass rusher at 2 is the direction that the thinking is going right now.
Okay. Do you think that they might take one later on, like at 12, say if a Levis or Richardson's there?
I think that's a best case scenario. I find it unlikely that those guys would be there. I think if that happens, the Colts are going to grab probably CJ Stroud pretty quickly at 4. And then I think you have to worry about Seattle and Detroit thinking about quarterbacks of the future. The Raiders, they got Jimmy Garoppolo who can't stay healthy at 7. Then you have teams that could jump back in. The Tennessee Titans, I think if that happens, are a team you have to worry about at 11. Right there in the division. You could look at passing on CJ Stroud and him going to Indy and passing on Anthony Richardson and him going to Tennessee. And you better be damn sure as an evaluator that you were right about those quarterbacks if you're going to have to see them 4 times a year. Like, can you imagine if Nick Caserio says, "No, we're good. We're good. We don't need those guys. We'll figure this out." And then they become the players that we think they can be. And that's a nightmare scenario. So you got to be really sure that your eval on those quarterbacks is right if you're going to pass them just to a division rival. So could Levis be there at 12? Maybe. But I think you're in that scenario of, would someone try to jump you knowing you're the logical landing spot for him?
Okay. BT, I know you're angry about this one. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to reiterate what Ian Rappaport said, because it addresses this situation as well as the CJ Stroud situation. And his point was that the Texans, ever since we fired Jack Easterby, have been notoriously tight-lipped. Nothing comes out of the Texans organization. So how come all of a sudden the entire world knows that we're not taking a quarterback and taking a defensive player at 2? That's not typical for what Nick Caserio likes to do. And to me, this is a combination of the Texans saying, "I fooled you all," and also the Colts and the Raiders lying to potentially get Stroud. If you look at the S2, the owner and creator of S2 went on a podcast and publicly stated that all 4 quarterbacks actually tested well, right? So that the initial rumor was that Stroud rated in the teens. Bryce got a 98, and then Stroud was in the teens. I thought that was kind of crazy. The guy that created the S2 said all 4 quarterbacks actually tested very highly. The other thing is that we don't have access to the S2, and I say we as a Texans, not just as fans. Apparently, it's only two teams per division, which means that the Texans can't even access it. So it's only from my understanding, it's only the Colts and the Titans. The Jags and the Texans don't have a contract with them. So the way that they're building competitiveness is that 2 teams from the division are allowed to utilize S2. The other two teams are completely asked out. So for what I think is that the S2 shouldn't matter for us because we don't have a contract with S2. And then the whole thing about not taking a quarterback at 2, I think it's a bunch of smoke. I think that if they do pass up on a quarterback, I would question the leadership of Nick Caserio. And not to go off too big on a tangent like I normally do, but lately I have been looking back on Caserio. I did that whole video on looking back at the 2021 draft class, which right now are essentially all bust. Not a single one is projected to be a starter. And if he passes up on a quarterback this class, I seriously have to wonder whether he's the right GM for this organization or not. Because it is not just whether CJ Stroud's a consensus pick, is what is the plan for the future? Davis Mills is not the plan for the future. Case Keenum is not the plan for the future. And so if he's not the plan for the future, if CJ Stroud or another quarterback isn't a plan for the future, I have to wonder who is.
Well, it looks like you made Matt so mad he left. No, he probably had technical difficulties.
Yeah, I think he'll probably be
so
back.
I will move to you, Crenshaw. What do you think?
Well, it's always this time of year when you hear negative things for people. But I'm going to quote Mr. Jordan Pond here: "The film don't lie," and the guy can play. I don't care about S2. I don't care if he didn't show up to the Manning camp. I don't care about that. I look at the film, and the film showed that he can ball, and that's your guy. You get your guy. I mean, it's okay. Last year, well, hold on. Who had the highest? The highest S2 was on Brock Purdy, right? He had the highest S2 ever, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
And he was Mr. Irrelevant. Yes, he had a good season last year because the system was in, but he was Mr. Irrelevant. So just because you score high on that, don't mean you're going to be a good football player. But it does help. I'm not going to lie, it does help. I just wish they just stop with all the nonsense. I don't think he can say what he want to say until he actually get drafted. So he kind of like keeping it in house right now. But I like the kid. I don't like him as much as Bryce, but I just think they need to just stop all this. That's my take on that right there.
Let me also add about the S2 that not only, like as you said, Brock Purdy, even though they had the results, he was Mr. Irrelevant. But on top of that, let's also say that Bryce, even though he got a 98, he's been taking the test since high school. So if you're trying to compare quarterbacks relatively, how is it fair where CJ Stroud and other quarterbacks, this would be their first time taking it, whereas Bryce Young has been taking it for years and years and years because he's been sought after since high school, whereas Stroud has just been starting to get scouted. So when you're trying to compare, that's not fair at all.
Exactly. Like I said, he's already been prepared. It's almost like how the kings and the queens and like the daughter is getting prepared to date the king's son and everything, blah blah blah. But I feel what you're saying on that right there. But we're gonna see next week. Does that really make a difference? And I hope it doesn't.
I mean, Matt, not to do your job, I'm sorry, but I have to address this, right? So Brett Jones is saying Peter Schrager. Peter Schrager. I'm sorry, Matt. What?
I said I already said it, but go ahead. Yeah, go.
Peter Schrager and Lance Zierlein say otherwise. Texas not in love with Stroud. I just wanted to address this. Listen, Lance Zierlein's evaluation is top notch. I believe him 100%, but I don't necessarily believe everything he says when it comes to insider information. And Peter Schrager, as good as he is simply reporting what Adam Schefter and other reporters are saying. It's hard to believe all these dudes when, again, you listen to Ian Rappaport, who makes a lot of sense. And I'm not saying this is someone who's just coping for a quarterback. I'm saying as someone that, think about it, Nick doesn't want to have all this information out there. So how is it getting out? Right? We don't have Jack Easterby anymore. So I don't think that the rumors that we're not high on CJ Stroud are actually accurate. How all of a sudden were the rumors saying that it was Bryce or CJ, and then all of a sudden it's Bryce or bust? That doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
All right. Well, we just got a message. Matt got his power taken out by 50 mile per hour wind, so he will not be rejoining us. He said he will get in touch with us after the draft to make up for yours, Matt. No, but we get it. Thank you for coming on. We'll see you next week. But speaking on to what you were saying, BT, I agree with you. They should go number 2. They should. But I'm playing devil's advocate. Don't come to Kansas City next week and kill me for saying this. But Lance was right 2 times last year. He picked the Derek Stingley pick and he picked the Kenyon Green pick. So I mean, he's batting 100 right now. So
batting 1,000.
1,000, right? Well, that's why he's batting 1,000. So I mean,
well, let me address that. So the Stingley information became national rumor news, if you want to call it that. And then his mock was released, I think, a day before, or right around there. So the Stingley news became national news, and then it was in the mock. And then we all knew that we had interior O-line issues. So we knew that we were going to get.
The consensus pick was still that it was Icky at 3 when he made that mock.
It was Evan Neal's and or Icky, right? Yeah. Right, the consensus pick was Evan Neal or Icky in the beginning. And then apparently the medicals issue between Evan Neal started changing that. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to say that he actually has information in terms of insider information there. Regardless, I think the Stingley information, that was national. So pretty much even NFL Network was kind of reporting that back last year. And again, going back to the Ian stuff, why would the Texans all of a sudden just release that information? It does not benefit them at all to say, hey, guys, we just want the world to know we're not taking a quarterback. How does that benefit them?
All right. Well, here we got another from Cody Johnson. Guys, if you don't follow him on Twitter, make sure you do. He has some good stuff. Texan wise, what if Stroud isn't their guy? Should they force the pick? I say yes, because you need a quarterback. You cannot sit back. Who was DJ being when he came on? He pointed out point blank. All you have to do is watch Davis Mills' gameplay. That is reason enough why you have to go quarterback. You cannot go another year with Davis Mills. It doesn't even matter who the OC is. And if anybody says, well, you got Case Keenum, you need to be a Cowboys fan because just get out here with that nonsense.
Okay, well, you forced the pick because you need competition in training camp.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
This man got handed the job last year without competition. So you need someone to push him. This is his third year. So this is money year because he only get 4 years. This is money year. This is year where he could make some big bucks. So we need to get him humble. We need to get him humble. Like, hey, it's guys that think you're not good. So are you gonna listen to them, or are you gonna show us that you are that good? So I feel like the guy's okay. He's not good. He's okay. You still need a rookie. You still need a plan, because if it doesn't work, you need that backup plan. If you don't take a quarterback and then Davis Mills bombs out, and you go into 2024 with a hope, a prayer, a wish, I don't want that. I had that in 2006 with David Carr. The first 2 years, he wasn't good. They had a chance to get the quarterback. They passed on him, and they messed the whole thing up. I'm sorry, 2004. So I don't want to hear there to see that again. Just get the guy. You feel like you got the coaches in play that can coach him up. If you don't think those are the coaches to coach him up, why did you hire them in the first place?
Exactly.
Get the quarterback, man.
I do tell you that it's publicly known. Gerard Johnson, who is a big evaluator on the quarterback side of the ball, is a fan of CJ Stroud. So that should be a deciding factor, correct? I mean,
yeah,
correct. I mean, Gerard, most definitely.
I also will say, just to address that question, should we force the pick? The question I have to ask is, why do you think that they shouldn't be high on Stroud? There's a lot, this talk of should they force the pick. Ask the questions why. So let's talk about the knocks that are on CJ Stroud, the actual knocks. Number one is that the question is he going to be able to produce when he faces under pressure? One of the biggest knocks on him is that when the line was weak at the points, he didn't perform well, and he actually played with dudes that are first rounders, so he had some of the best line in college football. So the biggest question is, can he face pressure? To answer that question, you can look at the Georgia game. He faced immense pressure against the Georgia game, and he actually showed that he can produce off script and make plays when he faces pressure. And as Daniel Jeremiah said, if you can do it once, you can do it again. It is up to the coaching staff to be able to reproduce that with him. So if the biggest question is about his off-script ability and how he plays under pressure, then I think you have to look at the Georgia game and say that he can do that. And if that is the case, why would it be a quote unquote forced pick? I think that's a narrative for individuals that don't want to take a quarterback. And honestly, I could have understood the argument, because I was the same way prior to hiring D'Amico. Prior to hiring D'Amico, I didn't want to take a quarterback either. But everyone has to realize that now that we have D'Amico here, we can't take. We have a real possibility, even if Davis Mills is under center, that we're going to win 7 games. 7 games is now outlandish with the moves that we made in free agency, the draft that's upcoming, our rookies stepping up. And so if we win 7 games, we could be at the 13th overall pick. If we're picking at the 13th overall pick, how the hell are we going to use three first round picks to move up when there's going to be teams in the 7th or 8th overall pick that are going to be able to use 3 first rounds to pick up? How will we be competitive? There's no way that we'll be able to get a Drake or a Caleb or even Quinn Ewers for that matter. And so we will be shit out of luck. So to everyone saying we're going to force a pick, it's not a forced pick. You're taking a pick that makes the most amount of sense. Because if you look at the situation, everyone says if he's a bust, we'll be screwed. No, you won't. Look at the Jets. They had Zach Wilson. Are they screwed right now? They made a pick with Zach Wilson and they're about to get Aaron Rodgers. How are they screwed? No, you're not screwed. What happens is that if you continue building the team and you actually get a quarterback, you have to shoot your shot. You have to try and get your quarterback when you're in position, especially when you have just gutted your entire coaching staff. Now that you've gutted it, let's go. Let's get a quarterback. Let's move on. If he's a bust, you know what we'll do? We'll try it again. This is the NFL. Busts happen. You try it again and you do it. You try until you succeed. There's no way you can say if it's not Brady, if it's not Manning, you skip out. Now that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why do everybody just assume that CJ isn't a Texans guy? He's not on a radar. Why they only think it's just Bryce? Why they don't think that Will?
I could tell you. I could tell you one
that?
reason right now. Oh,
What?
I could tell you one reason why CJ right now is that's because of that stupid rumor about his agent. It doesn't matter.
I mean, because Bryce is affiliated with that agent as well. So
Right.
no one brings that up. And then speaking of the agent, let's say we wait 2024 to get our quarterback. 9 times out of 10, Caleb Williams is going to sign with that same agent. So they're going to say, "Oh, I don't want Caleb because he's with David." I mean, so you got to stop with that narrative.
There's what 4 or 5 guys on the Texans roster with that agent.
There's 4 players with the agency. So there's 4 players, including Robert Woods, that are using Athletes First. And by the way, Bryce Young uses Brian Burney, who's a marketing agent for Athletes First. So so are we saying that we're not going to we wouldn't draft Bryce Young because he uses Athletes First? And Crenshaw, you're right on. What's happening right now is David Mulligetta is going to get the top athletes. He's getting the best contracts. So it would be absolutely frigging insane to say, hey, we're not going to work with the 8th biggest sports agency in North America. And we're not just talking about NFL. We're talking about sports overall. The 8th largest. They have over $1 billion in contracts. We cannot avoid them. And if you think that we are avoiding a player because of this agency, it's time to fold the franchise and start over again for the 3rd time because we can't work with David Mulligetta. That's absurd, guys. I'm sorry. I hate Deshaun Watson as much as everyone else, probably more than anyone else. People have heard me talk.
There's probably 33 women in Houston that hate him.
You're right. I got suspended on Twitter for talking about Deshaun Watson. So I understand the hate that Deshaun Watson brings and the animosity that you have against him and David Mulligetta but at the end of the day, it's not even David Mulligetta's fault. It's Deshaun Watson. We have to let that go. We will be bringing more players here that work with him, period. It's time to move on from that.
Yeah. We have another question. Do you think it's Young or no QB? I don't think it's no QB. Do I think it's Stroud at 2? I hope, right? I mean, like this comment says, Stroud is the most complete quarterback in this draft. I believe that the most accurate, 100%, and that's what you want, right? But is it no QB? No. I think if we do pass up, we try to get a Will Levis. I don't want to go the Colts route and get a 25-year-old Hendon Hooker, but at least it's a quarterback. Like Crenshaw said earlier, we need competition at the quarterback position. So no matter what, we got to go with the quarterback.
Even if the Texans fans don't believe these guys are any good, we see in the league what happens when you surround a mid quarterback with talent. Good things happen. So you have the money, you have the picks, you're going to have the game next year. So you surround that guy, he's going to do good. You get the offensive line right, you get a run game going, he's going to do good. So I don't know why people don't think about that. Like, okay, this guy got to do everything. I don't want my quarterback doing everything. That's been a problem. He got to do everything. I don't need that. I don't need that. So
like I said before, and 1,000 times, just like the Giants and the Jets this year, both were successful because of why? Scheming. Scheming fixes everything. You can't sit here and tell me that Daniel Jones is a top 10 quarterback. He's paid like a top 10 quarterback, but he's not a top 10 quarterback.
Exactly.
Scheming fixes everything.
And a healthy Saquon Barkley.
Right. We've got one. Damon Pierce. So, yes. I don't. Yeah, I agree with you, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, people just feel like, oh, you get Will Anderson, this defense is going to be top 5. I mean, it's not the case. You could get Will Anderson, and he might not be the same guy as well. Same way y'all feel about the quarterbacks. I mean, I just don't understand why has this been a debate since the last game against the Colts. Week 18. There's been a debate on these quarterbacks. Are they're not good enough? Wait 24. Hell, I didn't hear wait to Manning. The little Manning. I haven't heard wait on him. I'm like, damn, how long are we going to fucking wait? You know what I'm saying? Like, just get the guy and let's put a plan in place and let's get it together. Damn.
So, quick question. Last time Crenshaw and Chubby Bear were debating Bryce Young and waiting for Caleb Williams. BT.
I think
everybody wants $1 million.
VT kind of answered that though. He kind of answered that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just elaborate on that just a minute. And really, the biggest reason was the hiring of D'Amico Ryans. D'Amico Ryans is the reason why I changed my mind, because if we had Lovie Smith and Pep Hamilton here, I would actually be saying let's tank. Because they were horrible coaches, right? But D'Amico Ryans is not. Bobby Slowick is not. Bill Lazor is not. We've put together an offensive staff that's actually on paper pretty freaking amazing. If we have another 3 or 4 win season, I actually would be pretty surprised. And to tell you the truth, even if Davis Mills is the quarterback, I'll be surprised, because we're putting together a decent team. And honestly, mediocre teams can get 7 wins. The reason why we had 3 and 4 wins is because we had shit coaching. Yes, I know we had one of the worst rosters in the NFL, but the bigger reason is because our coaching was just ass. And the reason why I changed my mind is once you have D'Amico Ryans, once you have Bobby Slowick, once you have Bill Lazor and Gerard Johnson, and the free agency pickups that we had, like Dalton Schultz, Devin Singletary, Shaq Mason, Denzel Perryman. We pick up these dudes, and we're going to have another draft now. But again, the biggest reason is coaching. But then you talk about the roster. Getting 7 wins is not some huge win there. I actually think that's a mediocre season, but it's something that if we do get to, there's no way in hell that we can actually trade up and get Caleb.
I want to address this one. You wish you had Vrabel. No, because then we would still have Tim Kelly. I'm telling you, Titans fans, you are not going to like Tim Kelly's offensive scheme. So you can keep that. I take D'Amico Ryans and Bobby Slowick any day of the week, twice on Sunday. All right, guys. Well, before we move on to the end of the show, like I said, next week is the draft. I'm excited. I'm like a kid in the candy store, can't sleep. I know Santa Claus is coming soon. You guys are going to be down here to kick it with me live at the draft. So let's get some hot takes of the NFL draft. All right. Crenshaw, let's start with you. It doesn't have to be Texans. It can be anything. What is your hot take of this NFL 2023 draft?
Las Vegas Raiders trade up to number 3 and get their quarterback of the future.
Whoa, I like it. Spicy. You bring back the Cheetos this year, huh? I see it.
It's the puffs kind, though.
The puffs kind.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. BT.
I think despite all of the rumors, the noise, and Vegas, I think the Panthers will surprise everybody and draft CJ Stroud. I think that they'll draft CJ Stroud. I think the Bryce Young is smoke, and that's all it is. They were very high on CJ Stroud. I think that they have been trying to confuse us to get us to trade up. And we said, nope, we're not buying your smoke. And we'll actually end up with Bryce Young. So I think it goes Stroud and Young for the first and second pick.
All right. Well, y'all ready for this one? I think we jump up to the second round again this year, and we get our man JMS, and we get another edge. That's what I think. I'm gonna keep it Texans, and I think we jump up to the second round pick. We got to get JMS. No questions about it. But that's my hot take. All right, fellas. Like Crenshaw, wise words of Crenshaw. It's the worst time of the show because it's the end. Any last words before we sound off?
I just want to give a shout out to all the Texans creators out there. If you are talking about Houston sports, Texans specifically, shout out to you all. We all working hard trying to put our content out there. So
We're a family.
We're a family. If you're putting content out there, shout out to you. We'll try to support you, and we appreciate you guys supporting us.
And I want to say this before I let Crenshaw take it off. You guys are awesome. I wish I'd found y'all sooner. We're not leaving, so keep coming back. Bring your friends, bring your mama, bring your dog across the street. Come watch us. We enjoy it. Crenshaw, you got anything to say?
Just I'm a segue off what VT said. I do appreciate the people that check us out. I appreciate the back and forth that we always have on our chats and everything. I appreciate the journey we all have been on, the good, the bad, the ugly. We got some things in store for you guys, and just keep coming back. And we accept all criticism, all criticism, bad, good, we accept it all. And we'd like to hear from you guys as well, so keep sending the messages. We reading them. We try to get back with you guys as much as possible. And like I say, just, thank you. We're going to keep coming with the guests, keep coming with the hits. BT will keep pissing y'all off. And
Always. Always. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how strange the comment is. BT will bring it. All right. Pause. But he will bring the smoke. All right. Yeah, guys, like Crenshaw and BT said, we're here to support everybody. Like Crenshaw, it doesn't matter what people think. It just empowers us to get better. So if you think we are not good, that's your opinion. You are more welcome to have that. But that's just going to push us to get better and to have guests like Matt Miller, to have guests like we are having in the future. So thank you guys for all the support. We couldn't do it without you. All right, guys, now that we got the emotions out of the way, BT, where can we find you? What you got cooking?
You can find me on Brown Chubby Bear on Twitter. As everyone knows, I piss people off, but you can piss me off too. It's a two-way street, man. Usually on Spaces, pretty much every night. So you can catch me in there. Argue with me away. You can find my articles on fanbattlesports.com. I do have some videos also. If you're watching this on Facebook or on Twitter, go to the Texans Fan Battle YouTube channel. I have two really good videos that you guys should check out. That's rating the 2021 draft class, and should we give Davis Mills a chance? Those two videos I think are pretty damn good. Shout out to Landry Locker, who actually thinks I should change the name of them from VT Rant. But he likes them a lot, and he thinks they're well produced. So give him a watch and a listen.
Landry's been wrong before. Nah, I'm just kidding, BT. I'm just fucking with you. Crenshaw, where can we find you at, bro?
You can find me at Fifth Ward Crenshaw on Twitter. Sports Fifth Ward Crenshaw. Instagram, I'm a family man, Fifth Ward Crenshaw. So there it is.
And we're gonna push Crenshaw to get out of his comfort zone and do like a video article. We're going by the end of this year. Me, BT, we'll have Crenshaw doing something. Look at that smile.
I'm on it. I'm on it, man. I'm on it.
Nah, I'm just kidding. Crenshaw's great. But wouldn't be the show without Crenshaw and his flaming hot Cheetos. All right. You can find me A1 Day 1 Texans like BT, I've been writing articles for the Fan Battle Sports Network. Right now, I'm just covering everything draft. I have 2 articles: the best NFL, best defensive draft gems, and best offensive draft gems of the draft. So make sure you check that out. And also, guys, we are 125 subscribers away from 1,000. So, like I said earlier, tell your mama, tell your ex-baby mama twice removed to subscribe to the channel. Help us hit that 1K. Help us improve. And then you can find the podcast everywhere at Texas Fan Battle and every major platform where you listen to podcast on. You can find us. Guys, until next week, we'll be closer to the draft. Y'all have a great one. We'll see you later.
Go Texans.
Peace.